Hey everyone. Now, this is probably going to jinx it, but everything looks to be working, which is a real concern. Damn Aussies, sorry. Go over a few things, but start off really with a big thank you. Crossed a milestone today of 1,500 subscribers, and I've just looked and it's 1,509. So that's cool. That's really cool. I saw it this morning at 1,591, and I thought, oh, that'd be nice. You know, maybe by the weekend, if I get a live in, maybe that'll tip it over the edge. But it already has. So I'm learning a little bit with YouTube, and certainly my short break in the UK wasn't necessarily good for the channel from a subscriber point of view. The whole thing sort of slowed up and ground to a halt almost, and the views dropped off dramatically on the videos. So I'm sort of just, as part of the YouTube process, I suppose, it's understanding the algorithm, understanding what works, what triggers it. Obviously ads trigger it. If you've got your channel monetized, YouTube likes that because obviously that's how they earn money, through selling advertising. So it's kind of a chicken and egg scenario. For me, monetization isn't something that I really wanted to do, but the visuals, you know, to get people looking at the channel. So it's kind of something I've had to do. I'm not in this for the money. I never have been, and I never will be. And I'm more than happy to let people know how much I'm making on YouTube. And a lot of people want to sort of keep that a closely guarded secret, which I understand, you know. For me, it just doesn't matter. It's, you know, it's not about monetization. There's lots of other things that I'll be adding to this channel to generate income, which I'm not interested in. And that's nothing against the YouTubers that do. You know, I'm in a fortunate position where I don't need to do YouTube to generate an income, as I've said many times. And I really have come to learn that that is a very fortunate position, because it really does put your integrity into question and, you know, cause a lot of internal conflict. If you have to go out and make content every day or every other day, and if you have to generate clicks, then you have to word it a certain way. So I'm very, very lucky in the fact that I don't have to do that. And it gives me, I think, a lot more freedom. It means that I haven't got to be very glossy with the presentation. Some people might not like that. Some people may like the fancy thumbnails and titles and editing, etc., etc. But it's not something that I need to do. So I'm gonna do my absolute best to make sure I don't. Like I say, you know, some people may like that, and that may disappoint them, and they may not be interested in the channel because it's just me waffling. Christ. So yeah, so let's you know, let's start off by saying thank you very, 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 very much for subscribing. So please, the most important thing for me is to share the channel, because I do want my content to be seen by as many people as possible from both sides, east and west. You know, Russia, UK, America, and much further afield. I've been quite surprised at some of the people, where they're living and where they tune in from. So please drop that in the comments, where you're tuning in from tonight. That'll be kind of interesting. So got a little list that I want to work through. So we've done the subs bit, thank you very much. Next thing, as per the title, living in a war zone. Apparently, according to Western media, that's what I'm doing. Being 60 miles from the Kerch Bridge, which is apparently permanently under attack, as is Crimea, permanently under attack. So, you know, if you're to believe what's actually being purported in the Western media, then, you know, I must be dodging bullets and missiles left, right and centre. As you can probably tell by my suntan and the latest videos, and there's another one coming tomorrow which I filmed today, that's not exactly the case. We do actually plan to go to Crimea. I'm not entirely sure of the logistics. I'm a little apprehensive about potentially an Englishman without temporary residency that doesn't speak any Russian going to Crimea and filming. Not gets out, it could be good. I don't know. Sam was actually telling me a couple of weeks ago he was doing a video and forgotten, and there's a couple of Russian soldiers standing there pointing guns at him, and he'd walked onto, unbeknownst to him, he'd walked onto, you know, a military installation, and he was saying to me, he said, "Oh, you know, it was so lucky," and, you know, luckily they basically just said, you know, sling your hook, get out of here. So he beat a hasty retreat, and he was saying, "Oh, it's so lucky." And as I pointed out to him, imagine if that was me, not being a resident of Russia, as he is, and not speaking Russian, wandering around with a camera on a Russian military installation. Do you think you'd be seeing me again? Probably not. Yeah, that was quite funny. So yeah, I do want to go to Crimea purely because I've been watching a lot of videos of Crimea lately, and it's just breathtakingly beautiful. So I really do want to go and have a nose, but I've really got to obviously be sensible, and I really do have a bee in my bonnet about filming anything that will be, how do I word it? I don't want to film anything that's going to be military based. It's okay if it's, you know, 50-year-old planes, as I've done in previous videos, that are installed as a, you know, as a sort of working museum kind of thing. But I certainly do not want to be filming anything that's current. Not for any worries or concerns regarding the Russian government, you know, and my own liberty, but just I do not want to inadvertently film something that may be used to cause harm. So it's a thing of mine. I just don't want to do it. You know, I will be going back to Novorossiysk and the battleship museum that's in Novorossiysk harbour, just because it's a cracking thing and it looks amazing, and it really impresses me. So hopefully it'll impress you guys. Certainly anything current I don't want to be showing. So I'm going to have to think about the Crimea thing and see how it goes from there. I'm desperately trying not to be political. It is a struggle. I've got to say it is a struggle. I am somebody that is keen to voice his opinion, I suppose. You know, everybody's got an opinion, haven't they? Let's face it. But I think it's important that people hear both sides of an argument and see all the information. And I'm not saying that I've got all the information, far from it, but you know, if I can add a bit more information to somebody's repertoire, then, you know, maybe they can make better decisions, or certainly have a better understanding of what's going on. I've always said I don't want to do it, but when you see just almost on a daily basis just utter nonsense being written and pumped out in mainstream media, it's so difficult. It really is so difficult. But I'm doing my best. The video that I recorded today is of an Napa. There's one of the main roads that goes through a Napa is very much like Krasnodar. So if you saw the Krasnodar videos, there's a road that where the road goes both sides, and down through the centre is a pedestrian park, effectively. So I've wandered down that from one end almost to the other, and just sort of showing the monuments and the statues. There's a huge monument to Lenin that was erected in 1985, and just, you know, as a point of interest, avoid the political subject. So yeah, you'll have to watch it. Hopefully it's all right. I'll have to put my glasses on so I can read. I have had a beer, and I'm currently consuming another one. Bear with. Just in case YouTube doesn't like that, it is, of course, alcohol free. So the chat tonight might be interesting. We'll see. What do you guys think about titles and thumbnails? I've really struggled with this, in the fact that the consensus is that you've just got to put almost clickbait titles to your videos to get the views, which I really don't want to do. I have experimented with it in the past. It has helped to a degree. The video that I posted today, you know, life in a war zone basically, and this live is titled that way for a reason. So it's almost to see what people think and what impact it has. I can say that the video has been pretty successful so far in the 12 hours that it's been up. So from an algorithm point of view, it certainly helps, and it is a chicken and egg scenario. You know, the more people see it, the more YouTube promote it. The more YouTube promote it, the more people see it. Yada yada yada. So yeah, if anybody's got any thoughts or opinions on that, either drop it in the comments or send me an email. I love reading emails. I get quite a few actually, which is surprising. I've had my first death threat. Thought it was quite good. I'll treat that with the contempt it deserves. I've found in life that people who make threats tend not to do a great deal. You know, my brother's bigger than your brother, I'll go and get me dad, that kind of scenario. So yeah, I'm long in the tooth. I've had a good life. Whatever. The UK videos weren't terribly successful, as I've said earlier. I'm not entirely sure why. One of the videos I thought would do really well, which was King Charles coming out of Buckingham Palace, albeit a crap video to be fair, but that's kind of beyond my control. It was literally right there, right then, and you get what you're given. But just based on its content, I expected that to do better. It didn't. So, you know, is that a case of censorship? Is it a case that it just wasn't good enough content? If you've got any thoughts or opinions about it, please let me know. I do want to get on to the Abrauder So videos and get more of that series done. It's all planned, it's ready to go. It's just finding the time at the moment. I'm fairly busy with our personal lives at the moment, so it's not that I've got a lot of time. So to go to a brow, I'm going to need to spend a day there pretty much, and it's going to be 2 or 3 videos, so it's going to take a day. So just bear with me with that. It is coming, but it may not be immediately. Somebody asked me about the weather in the pool. Well, as you can see, it's hot here, 30 odd degrees. I understand Moscow region has been sort of cold and wet. I don't live there, 2,000 kilometres south of that. So yeah, it's warm. It's very warm, 30 degrees. Pool temperature today, 30 degrees. So, you know, no heating, just heated up off the sun. It was 24 degrees at the beginning of the week, because I had great pleasure in sending a video message to a friend of mine in the UK who's got a pool, just poking fun at him. Hope your pool's doing well, blah, blah, blah. And he had great pleasure in responding straight away saying, yeah, my pool's at 30 degrees. So shot me down in flames. Thanks for that. But his is heated. So tomorrow he's going to get a follow-up video. Sizes of pools matter in this world. So yeah, no, it's been really warm here. The weather's been really good, and it looks like it's going to continue for the next couple of weeks. So beyond that, obviously, weather forecast. Well, to be honest, let's face it, weather forecasting tomorrow is a waste of time. You're better off opening the door or pulling the curtains and looking out the window, and they're going to tell you far more than any weather forecast. What about videos from my neighbourhood? I don't know if you saw the one that I've done about gas pipes recently, which sounds really, really boring, but depends on your perspective. Coming to this part of Russia from the UK, it's certainly something that will strike you very, very quickly, because these pipes are, you know, they're painted yellow for a start, so you can't avoid them. They go across main roads, and they go across all the roads. So it's something that really, you know, what did you guys think of that? Was that of interest? And would you like to see more videos from my immediate area, the village that I live in? Houses, the different streets, that kind of thing. Please, again, let me know. It doesn't have to be now. Let me know. Send me an email. You know, like I say, I do like receiving emails. What is it to be an Englishman? So, Oleg has asked me, what is it to be an Englishman? And he's asked 3 points to this. 1 in England, 2 in Russia, and 3 in general. Obviously, I can't comment for everybody in Britain. I can only tell you my thoughts and opinions on that. An Englishman in England, I think, is perceived, if you are a patriotic Englishman, that was made to be borderline racist. Many years I was at school, just leaving school actually, and getting coaching on filling in CVs. One of the things they said when you put your nationality is never put English, because it looks racist. You could put Welsh, you could put Irish, you could put Scottish, but you couldn't put English. You had to put British. So to be an Englishman in the UK really is frowned upon. You know, if you term yourself, instantly brand yourself as, you know, near enough a skinhead in DM boots, covered in tattoos, and having a particular slant towards any race, colour or creed other than your own. So it's difficult to actually comment on that. I think for me, anyway, it's difficult to align myself with being an Englishman because one, for the reason I've just given. Two, I think you have to be deeply patriotic to, attach yourself to a country. And to get that, I think you have to believe in your country and you have to be grateful to your country. You have to want to defend it, like my father did, and, the men of that era. They believed in something, and I think they believed in an England that doesn't exist anymore. I think for me, and for everybody I know, I don't think that England exists anymore, where, people would fight and die for their country. There are still people that would do that, but it is far, far less widespread now. So it's very difficult to say, what's it like being an Englishman in England? It's a multicultural. It's interesting. Losing connection for some reason, so apologies for that. Don't know why that was. Yeah, I'm not patriotic. I believe that, I just fully support that country just because that was your geographical location. Equally, I don't believe that that country should control you about where you live. Freedom of movement, freedom of speech. If your country looks after you and treats you well and makes good decisions, then you're going to be patriotic about it. I think that just goes hand in hand. But if you look at it and think you're making bad decisions here and it's really not good for the rest of the world, then it's difficult to align yourself with that country. I've got very mixed thoughts about England at the moment. I really have, not because of the country. I love the country, it's beautiful. Most of the people are great, most. Not all, but then that's true of any country, I guess. But the government is not good. And I don't see it changing. There's a new election. You're going to get a new Prime Minister and see the choices that are being made for the good of the people. I think they're being made for the good of the 1% at the top. And, how can you support that? How can you get behind that and think that that's a good thing? Especially as it pushes us nearer and nearer and nearer to a catastrophe, let's face it. So, yeah, difficult to comprehend and difficult to sort of put into words about being an Englishman in England at the moment. As for an Englishman in Russia, I'm mindful of the current situation. So I'm not running around with a Union Jack draped over my back, shouting England. Also, finding myself, when I meet new people, apologising. That tends to be the first thing that comes out of my mouth because I think I feel and still think in a Western way where, the media and the government direct you to think a certain way. You must hate Russia, for example. So I find myself thinking along those lines and not hating Russia, but thinking in that ilk, in that vein, and thinking that probably when I meet somebody new from Russia, their first opinion when they hear that I'm English is going to be, oh my God, bloody English here, yada, yada, yada. So my first step tends to be to say, English, sorry. And it is constantly humbling when you learn and get to grips with the fact that Russians just aren't wired like that. As I've said many, many times, you know, their attitude is what you're sorry for, what have you done? And it's lovely. It is, you know, it's really refreshing coming from a society that just doesn't work like that, just doesn't operate like that. So to come to a country where the people are intelligent enough to know that just because a government is doing some pretty crap things, it doesn't mean that the people are, it doesn't mean that the people support it. And they can differentiate between that. And that's, one, it's amazing, and two, it's very humbling. So, you know, to every Russian that watches my channel, I thank you for that. It has certainly made coming to this country so much easier, so much easier. And I am extremely grateful to every Russian that I've met that has been friendly, polite. You know, don't get me wrong, they're not all running around trying to take me down a pub and, you know, have a party, but that's, you know, it's something I'm very, very, very grateful for. And it really hits home because it wasn't what I was expecting. I was expecting far worse, and it's not been like that at all. So, as an Englishman in Russia, I've got to say it's pretty good. It's pretty good. And in general, being an Englishman, I don't wake up every morning thinking, oh, I'm an Englishman, this is how I act, or this is how I think and feel. I'm me. I'm my own sovereign territory. So I don't tend to focus on that. I tend to focus more on be nice to me and I'm nice to you. I don't care about race, creed, colour, religion, you know, what you want to get up, manners. I believe in right and wrong. And I believe in live and let live. And I believe in karma. And I think that's something that, you know, a lot of people probably overlook, but it tends to work. It tends to be something that happens in this universe. And it does seem that if you're a bad person, bad things happen to you. So I think that's it. There's nothing really I could add to that about being an Englishman, because I just don't think it exists in the term that it used to. You know, 50, 60 years ago, it probably meant something. Now, I think England is so diluted that I don't think anybody really could pinpoint what a true Englishman was anymore. So, Oleg, I hope that answers your questions. Feel free to drop me a line if it doesn't. I got a notification yesterday, I think, from Sparebank. We are now... I understand that there's inflation, but if you want to see inflation, go to the UK. Because trust me, it's a lot worse there. And all of these headline figures that they put out of 2%, it's just rubbish, it's just nonsense. It's not real world, it's just artificially manipulated figures. So don't take any notice of that. CPI data and all that, it's just crap. Please don't be dumb enough. Just look at the price of your petrol, look at the price of your milk, look at the price of your bread. That'll tell you where the real inflation figures lie. You know, anything else that's printed, it's just manipulation, just ignore it. So whilst I do understand that prices have risen in Russia, I think they've risen far more steeply in the UK and probably in the West, certainly from what I've seen in the US and Canada. Price rises there have been borderline insane. But take all of that away, and what interest do you get on your savings in the UK? What interest do you get on your savings in Canada, America, anywhere else? Because it's 18% here. And that I've really found quite remarkable, coming from the UK, where we get, you know, single digits, 1%, 2%, 3%, 0.5%, you know, all of this kind of nonsense. And we're brainwashed to believe that, you know, the bank don't make any money, and, you know, they give you what they can, and, you know, we're very lucky to get that, and we should be grateful. And we're brainwashed to believe all of that rubbish. The reality is the banks make an absolute fortune. That's why they're in business. So it's nice to come to a place where they actually give it back. So for the month of June, anything, I think 100,000 rubles and more, with any period. It can be 1 month, 2 months, 3 months, 6 months, 12 months. I think might even be up to 10 years that you can put it in and lock that rate for. But it's only for June. I think that's an amazing offer. Personally, I think it's brilliant. You know, I'm sure there are lots of Russians that don't agree with it, but as I say, if you come from the UK where the banks want to give you 0.5% on your savings, you know, you can have 80 grand in the bank and get 0.5% or 1%. So to get 18%, you know, it's a huge change, and very refreshing. Right, not much else. A couple more things we're going to go through, but let me just catch up with the chat. I'm ready when it comes to the technicals. So, beer in hand, yeah. Sailor, hi. How you doing, mate? Hey, you popped up on my screen. That means your channel is doing good. It means I'm not shadow banned, I guess. So, bonus. Don't film there, just go there and enjoy, then have a live stream about it. Regarding Crimea, I guess. Thought about that, but I really want to film there. One, because it is so beautiful, and two, just to prove a point, really, to show to the Western audience that I'm pretty sure most people in the West, if they're listening to mainstream media, will think that Crimea is literally foxholes and bomb craters. You know, according to Western media, it's being rained down on a permanent basis, and the Kerch Bridge is ready to collapse at any moment, and yada 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 yada. So I just want to not counter that so much, but just and show the beauty of the place, because it is amazing. You know, if you get the chance to have a look at some videos online about Crimea, it's truly stunning. It really is. And I want to be able to do that. I want to be able to film that as a Englishman in Russia, just wandering into Crimea, filming 2 or 3 videos and wandering out again. Sounds great. Not sure if it'll pan out like that, but we'll see. We'll see how keen I am. It may not be my best ever plan, but we'll see. Yeah, Sailor, who cares about the king in relation to my King Charles video? Yeah, that's probably true. I think, apart from a few diehards in the UK, I think the monarchy died with the Queen. So, yeah. Oh, you. Bear with. I have a pet hate. And it's mosquitoes. And one's just landed on the camera. Oh. What's the saying in Vietnam? The smell of napalm in the morning? Because they love me, and not in a good way. So, anytime I get a chance to do that, I'm going to take it, whether it's in the middle of a live stream or not. So apologies for that. Yeah, that's brilliant. I'm sorry. I'll put a little circle around him. He can sit there all night, fried. Oh dear. It's very childish, I know, but I hate the things with a passion. I'm spamming this chat. Yes, Sailor, you are. If it wasn't for you, what would I do, eh? Yeah, Mitch. Yeah, I skipped the video. No interest in the Royals. I suppose that's the thing. On face value, you sort of think, oh, the motorcycle's getting ready, and I thought this is going to be a Royal out, and it turned out to be the King. And you're right there at the time, and I thought, oh, this is cool. This will make a great video, and it turned out it didn't. So, yeah, you've hit the nail on the head, and I think, as I've said, the monarchy really died with the Queen. I think. I don't think people are that interested anymore. Will it ever come back? I don't think with King Charles. I think if it changes and goes over to William, maybe, who knows? But I think we're living in different times now. I don't think people are so keen on it. I think it's more the tourists that look at this sort of stuff now. So, yeah. Fireflux, hi. Nice to see you doing a live. Thank you. Completely spontaneous. Today I saw it ticked over 1,500 subscribers, so I just wanted to come on quickly and sort of say thanks to everybody that's subscribed to the channel. Really do appreciate it. And just a couple of other things, as I've said, that I've covered already. The gas pipe video was interesting because it shows how Russian utilities work. Yeah, I thought it was interesting. Like I say, it was one of the things that sort of hit me when I first came here. It was like, what on earth is that? And my first reaction is, oh my God, because it just, coming from the West where everything's hidden and you just don't see that at all. It's all underground. You never think of it in any way other than ugly. When you come here and you first see it, and especially, when you drive around the villages and you see the weird and wonderful combinations of pipe work that they have going on, the first reaction is, oh my God, it looks terrible. But as I said in the video, when you turn your head round and actually look at it for what it is, it makes a lot more sense, much more sense. And that's something that I find in abundance in Russia. Common sense and function over form. So definitely they want it to work first and be pretty second. Maybe that's not everybody's taste. Certainly in the West, we seem to be hell-bent on what something looks like and appearances, which is why we spend a fortune on cars all the time and clothes and designer brands and yada yada. Whereas here, I think people realise that just because a t-shirt might have a Armani written on it, it doesn't mean it's worth 100 quid. So, yeah, it's a different mentality and it's a different thought process. But once you start to get into it, you realise it just makes sense. It just really does. So, yeah. La 777. Hi Chris, we really enjoyed your recent video of the seafront. Hi from Scottish couple from Glasgow. Hi guys, Glasgow. Driven past it many times. Never stopped. Sorry. Funnily enough, I was reviewing some videos on my phone. Hence the Mustang around Scotland video you may have seen that I uploaded, just because I found it. There was I did a few tours of Scotland in that car. I took my boy up for a week, I took my daughter up for a week, and I was just going through the phone trying to clear some space, to be honest, and saw those videos and saw that video that my son had recorded while sitting in the passenger seat. So I'd never really watched it, to be honest, because I was there, so there wasn't a lot of point in looking at it. But it was quite nice to review it, and I thought, oh, I'll just, throw it up. And I've gone through the other videos that I've got, and there's a few of Lake Lomond and Glencoe. My geography is terrible on Glencoe. I'm actually, I think, talking to my daughter, telling her that we're probably driving past Ben Nevis as we're going through Glencoe. Sorry. So yeah, no, it's quite good, but yeah, I hope some of you watched that. The scenery in Scotland, I think, is difficult to beat. It really is. From what I've seen around Europe, you know, I've been down through the Alps many times, driven race trucks down through there, through the bottom of Mont Blanc. I've been into Austria, I've been Switzerland, all over the place. Lovely scenery. You know, the Alps are amazing, very spectacular. But if I had the choice between the Alps and Scotland, I'd go Scotland. I think it's just beautiful, and if the weather changes, it's still beautiful. Even, you know, even in a torrential rain, it just looks completely different. So I love it up there. So yeah, hi guys from Glasgow. Sorry I haven't stopped for a cup of tea, but I was always far too busy trying to get to Lake Lomond as my first stop. Blimey. Greetings from Murmansk. Hi Nelly. Thumbs up, please, thumbs up. Russian Tsar Nicholas II was the cousin of King George V of the United Kingdom. Yeah, I'm no good at history. Terrible, awful. So I know there is a Russian connection with the royal family. There are many Russian connections actually, not just with the royals, also with poets, etc. There's Britain and Russia have a lot more in common than people realise. But I'm certainly not the person to start talking about it because I have no clue. I'm terrible at history. Terrible at most things, to be fair. Are you getting Russian language practice talking to your wife, or you communicate in English at home? Well, I'm actually fluent in Russian now. I just choose to come on here and talk in English. No. No, we talk in English. Some words, but not much. Yeah, I'll be honest, I haven't gone near the language since I came back from the UK a couple of weeks ago, whenever it was, week and a half ago, can't remember, whenever it was. Just because we've been too busy and because I've been too lazy. So I've been tired from the journey. You know, we lost a couple of days of sleep in the 3 weeks. And just sort of coming back to Russia, to dealing with things that we've had to deal with, you know, coming home, getting a swimming pool uncovered and cleaned up because it's sat there for a month, getting the chemical balance and get everything working again, and obviously that's quite important. And the garden, the wife's been busy in the garden, so we've just been busy, and I've steered away from it, to be honest. It's daunting. I need to get into it, but yeah, I've been a lazy little bugger and I haven't gone near it. Do you follow the Scottish Line in Moscow? Question for Lala. Yeah, I can't remember his name. Unfortunately for me, it's another YouTuber in Moscow. So I certainly don't want to put them down. You know, another British YouTuber in Russia can only be a good thing. But it's just Moscow again. And for me, there's more to Russia than Moscow. And I'd like people to see that. So yeah, I try not to, I don't try not to, I just don't click onto Moscow videos anymore. I saw a bit of Moscow. I'm not a city person for a start, so I just, whilst it's very picturesque and the architecture and the parks, and you know, I understand that Moscow's an awful lot going for it, just like any, you know, any major city. It's just not for me. I like a bit of space. I like a bit of peace and quiet. I'm a country boy. I like to be near the coast. So yeah, Moscow videos just sort of turn me off a little bit, really. I don't think there's anything that's going to be coming out that's new. I mean, obviously Victory Day Parade and things like that are new, and if something, you know, some announcements or anything that could be new, of course that's interesting. But generally, you know, it's somebody else doing videos about a city that people have already done about, and it's just probably going over the same ground. And I don't want to be negative about any particular YouTuber filming from Moscow, but for me it needs to be different from here's Red Square, here's the Kremlin, you know, all of that. It needs to be something a bit with purpose, and I think that's why I like Travelling with Russell. I think I might have nailed the name, Travelling with Russell. I reckon that's what it is. I think I've got it this time. He's only gone and done it, the old kiddie. Yeah, I think that's why I like Russell's channel, because it's different. You know, he goes and does different stuff. He does, you know, he does the, you know, the normal stuff as well. Some, you know, like the reporting on Crocus, like the reporting that he did when the NATO tanks and everything were there. But he does show stuff from a different side as well, and he goes to the shopping centres, and he goes to, you know, everyday stuff that a lot of the other YouTubers sort of miss, and, you know, don't really think that, you know, it's almost like you go to Moscow, the first thing you've got to do is run to Red Square. And I think they miss the fact that Russia is more than that, and maybe everybody has seen Red Square. May not have seen it in person, but I think that's what's good about Russell's channel. He doesn't do that. You know, he has done that, but he goes and shows daily stuff. You know, he'll jump on a train and film on the train, and I haven't seen anybody else doing that kind of thing. So for me, Russell's channel is something, if I'm going to watch anything about Moscow, it would be probably Russell's channel. Unless there was something specific that I wanted to look up, in which case, yeah, I'll stick it in the YouTube search bar and look at it. But it's a city, for me, not a great deal of interest. Where else? I find ugly high fences. Everything else is great. Yeah, Morgan Cruz. Hello, Chris. Hi, Morgan. How are you? Morgan can be male or female, so I'm going to choose my words carefully and say, once again, how are you? Yeah, the high fences. I did a video on that. The initial perspective, I think, as a Westerner coming here is, oh, wow. You know, it's very keep out, stand off, what's the security like, is it a dangerous country, that kind of thing. But somebody pointed out to me that it stems back from a long, long time ago when Russia wasn't a great place, wasn't a secure place, shall we say, and people were very private and protective. So they had fences for that reason, and it's kind of in the psyche, and they are very private people still. So, you know, they're not, and that's the stark contrast between the West. You know, the West will, you know, we'll have our driveway done so that everybody can see it, and we'll have a flash car parked on it so everybody can see it. Whereas here, they'll have the driveway done on a flash car, but it'll be behind a 12-foot fence, so you can't see it. So it's not about being outwardly flash or trying to, you know, show off your property or anything. It's more, you know, it's your home, so it should be private, and I respect that, and I actually quite like it. And certainly for us with a swimming pool in the back garden, yeah, you know, it's something that I actually quite like now. To make them cheaper and quicker to install, I'm assuming you're talking about the gas pipes. And yeah, you know, as I said in my video, if you listen to the commentary, you know, I discussed the reasons for it, and it is common sense. Greetings from Moscow. There's me slagging off Moscow. Well, I wasn't, was I? To be fair, I wasn't slagging it off. I was just saying it's another big city, and, you know, yeah, it's not for me. European royals are pretty much all related. Yeah, yeah. Huge bunch of inbreds. Ruglish. Like on Brighton Beach, Brooklyn, New York. Sorry, Sergey, I'm not entirely sure with that. Ruglish. Yeah. Don't know where you're going with that one, mate, I'm afraid. So, as I said, I've got another video being dropped tomorrow, and that's about 18 minutes, I think, something like that. Just walking up one of the streets in Napa, just showing off the parky kind of side of things, you know, kids' playgrounds, just daily life, and the monuments to Lenin. And there is a monument, I can't remember what it's called for the life of me, and I'm crap like that, but it's beautifully carved, it's beautiful, you know, lovely stonework. And there's a few actually that I like that, thinking about it. There's the large gate monument, I call it, next to the KFC. That's cool. So there's lots and lots of monuments around Napa and the surrounding villages, and I think that's probably the theme across Russia. So they are really interesting when you start looking at them. So yeah, there's that. There's a monument to the engineer, or the head engineer of the Russian seaplane program. So they do celebrate, you know, achievements. If you go to like the centre of Napa where the government building is, outside there are big pictures of all of the government officials with their names, so you can see who they are and what they do. So that's cool. So yeah, take a look at that tomorrow when that comes out. That'll give you an idea of what the centre of Napa is like. Next one will be from Napa anyway, will be from the beach, I guess. Been going down there a little bit more lately. Had breakfast a couple of times down there in the restaurant. It's very pretty. So I'm going to try and get on the sand. I want to go and see if I can catch the dolphins. But I do want to get to Abral de So as well and carry on with those videos. So yeah, so that's what's coming. I think that's what I wanted to cover across in my comments. I've been asked about the new town that's being built, which I don't know much about it other than what I've heard people sort of saying about. And it's, as I've said in the previous video, it's apparently going to rival Dubai. Don't know. But there's a lot of buzz about it. So apparently it's been signed off, Putin has signed off on it. So yeah, you know, I guess it's going to be a project that happens. It's certainly not going to happen overnight, although they do build things pretty quick here, as my Nova Assist videos, when I do them, will show. Certainly, you know, in 2 or 3 years, buildings and structures get built really quick. The Napa video shows the apartments. I mean, when I came here in October 21, it was a building site, and now it's, you know, it's the infrastructure's there, the boardwalk's there, all the lighting's there, the apartments are lived in. Yeah, really quick, really quick. So they do build stuff quick here. They crack on with the job, which is nice. The Ekrana plan, no, it wasn't actually. I love that thing. I think that Ekrana plan, I think I love stuff like that. You know, when that thing came out, it, you know, the West were just blown away by that thing. You know, I think their spy plane saw it first, and that's where the nickname came from, the Caspian Sea Monster. But yeah, it's an amazing piece of technology, and you think, when that was designed, when it was made, in what, in the 60s, insane. But no, it's not the Ekrana plan. It's their just their normal seaplane project. Like I say, watch the video tomorrow. You see the monument, and there's some Russian writing. I can't read it. I don't know what it says. I can read the dates, but have a look. Chris, you're making us jealous with all these beautiful walks and eating breakfast at those nice restaurants in amazing weather. Yeah, I think it's great back in the UK at the moment, weather-wise, is it? But it's, as I keep saying, it's quite nice here. Quite pleasant. Cheers. I better drink that faster, it might be starting to warm up. I try and keep up with you expats. You have rain there, do you? Yeah, well, it's kind of England, isn't it? That's what we come to expect, really. Let's face it, we're famous for it, aren't we? World renowned for talking about the weather. So, yeah, no real surprise. But yeah, I certainly am getting some sun. Any big plans for the summer? Honestly, no. Just carry on doing what we're doing, really. Still lots of things to do around the house and the gardens. We haven't got any significant plans. I want to possibly build a structure across the top of the pool because I have grand ideas of making it an indoor stroke outdoor pool. So maybe that. I've got grand ideas about building a carport out the front, in front of the garage. Just so I haven't always got to put the car in the garage and it will keep the sun off of it. And most people in this region have carports. Pretty much every house has a carport. We're one of the few houses that don't. But we're also one of the few houses that has a garage. And I still maintain that that was a good idea because in the winter I was able to go into the garage and work on stuff. Whereas a lot of people, if the weather was rainy or it was just damn cold, they didn't really have that option. So I still maintain that that's a good idea, as long as it's big enough. So yeah, I'm thinking of putting a carport out the front as well. But just generally cracking on with, with garden stuff. More fencing, maybe a shed. The wife will have me building things for things to grow up. I don't know. So yeah, no specific plans, but we'll see what turns up. Yeah, it always rains in Scotland. Well, not as bad as the Lake District, is it? It's I think it's pretty much permanently wet there. But I can't say that it's always rained in Scotland when I've been there. I have had quite a few days, I suppose, where it's been unpleasant, but that makes the scenery look amazing as well. So it's a swings and roundabouts kind of thing. But I've had some wonderful weather up there. I really have. Are you able to use the pool year round if not enclosed? If we put a heating element into it, then yes. But then that's probably the same answer for any country, isn't it, really? But to give you an idea, the water temperature, the lowest it got to in winter was 5 degrees. Obviously we had snow, so it was a lot colder than that, but the water temperature only went down to 5 degrees. That said, would I go in it at 5 degrees? No chance. But we were swimming in our friend's pool at 11 degrees. So, yeah. And Russians do like to come out of a sauna and jump into a nice cold swimming pool or lake. So maybe once the sauna's built, maybe that'll be something that's attractive and we will use it year round. Don't know. But the plumbing for the pool is all plumbed to add a heating element. So, it's a bit of forward thinking when we installed it. And that was the view to heat it at a later date. But I would like to put a kind of a structure over it of some description. I just need to spend more time thinking about it and planning it. I saw went to buy a car years and years ago in London, And I went with a friend of mine who knows London like the back of his hand. And I would ring him up and say, this is an address or this is a building or whatever, and he would literally know where it was and direct me to it. He was literally like a black cab driver. And so I said, I've got to go and look at this car. I told him where it was, and he sort of looked at me and he went, there's nothing there. And I said, well, that's the address. And he said, well, there's nothing there. It's a crossroads, there's traffic lights. I don't know. So we drove up there. And yeah, sure enough, it was crossroads and traffic lights, but there was like a 8-foot high wall, and in this wall was a electric gate, and this was where the car was, and this property was actually down. So you drove down, it had all been obviously excavated, and the whole grounds and everything were below the height of the wall. So even though it's a 2-story house, you still couldn't see it from outside. And I don't know how many millions this place was, but a lot. And the guy had an indoor-outdoor swimming pool, and I'll never forget it. It was at the push of a button, all of the sides retracted and the roof folded up. So at the push of a button, it was an outdoor pool. So I've got crazy ideas of not necessarily going to those extremes, but maybe being able to make the pool usable through the winter with sides on it, and if it's raining it doesn't matter, that kind of thing. So yeah, maybe they're further down the road plans, maybe. Viewing Sam's channel, Russians love their banyas. They sure do. It's a bit of a cultural thing more than just going and getting hot and sweaty. It's a real social thing. You do it with your friends, and it's food and it's drink and it's chat and laughter, and yeah, it's far more of a thing than we understand in the UK, for sure. Same with all the Northern Europeans. Saunas and cold dips is a pastime. Yeah. What southern cities and towns have you visited so far? Not many. Obviously, where we are in the Napa, Novorossiysk many times. Sochi recently. If you have a look at my channel, if you haven't looked, done a few videos from Sochi. But that was very brief because we were just passing through. And the same when we came back, we came out of the airport at, I can't remember what time, 5 o'clock in the morning or something, and just came out and got in a cab, which was interesting because I wanted to go in a sort of, I'm going to say luxury cab, but not for any reason other than we were going to be in the thing for 6 hours. So I wanted some comfort, and even a 7-seater, just so that we could have plenty of leg room and not have to worry about the cases. And as is the way, we were talking to a guy who they sort of pounce on you a little bit when you come out of the airport, taxi. And they're pretty much agents, and they call in a cab kind of thing. And this particular guy was, I won't say pushy, but certainly, persistent. And I sort of said, I want to go, in a bit of comfort. And he said, oh yeah, we've got a Kia Rio. And I'm like, nah, that's not what I see as comfort. But he pulled it up on the internet, and my understanding of a Kia Rio is, most people's, it's just a very basic saloon car. But he pulled up this Rio X, which is a SUV type, and I thought, well, that'll be probably a bit more comfortable and have a bit more room. So he said, well, I'll get it round and you can have a look at it, and if you don't like it, fine. And by this time we'd come out of the airport about 20 minutes and we just wanted to get home. So what turned up was a Kia Rio. It wasn't this X, it was just a saloon car, and at that point it was like, oh, I just don't care, I just want to get home now. So we tried the cases in the boot, they went in, so did we. And the lady was very nice, very polite, very pleasant. And off we started on our journey, and we got about 20 minutes, half an hour outside of Sochi, and the brakes went. So and I mean gone, you know, metal to metal, terrible grinding noises. And I said, you need to stop, you can't be driving this car anymore. So there we were, stranded, about half an hour outside of Sochi. The wife made her point to this agent, because you have to pay them a certain amount up front, and then you pay the rest to the taxi driver at your destination. And she made it perfectly clear that she wasn't having any nonsense. She wanted all the money back, which she duly did eventually, but she's pretty persuasive. So she got the money back, and then we had to wait for another cab. So our journey back from Sochi was a little eventful, and I don't think I commented on it before, but it just meant that we didn't get to see really anything of Sochi or any other towns. We were just passing through. What I can tell you is, if you look at the map and just go from Anapa to Sochi as an A to B, it doesn't, you know, it's 300 kilometres, it's not that bad. And when people say it takes 7 hours, you sort of think, what? Why? When you drive it, you'll understand why. And that's why most people, I think, get on the train. Because the road is, well, it's motorbiking heaven, but it is just twist, 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 twist. You know, you're barely getting out of second gear a lot of the time. So yeah, it's a challenging journey. But I understand there's new rail links being proposed or being approved across Russia, high-speed rail links. So times for journeys are going to really come down. I think one I saw was St. Petersburg to Moscow in about 2 hours, where it currently takes 6 or 8 hours if you're driving it. And Moscow to Sochi in about 6 hours, which is, you know, crazy. So I think there's going to be some high-speed rail links across Russia, which will be great for all of us. Yeah, I haven't visited many towns, a couple of local villages, some vineyards, but we've been very busy with the house and with the garden. So, you know, aside from going into Anapa, you know, quite regularly, we haven't been anywhere, we haven't done much exploring, so need to get out more. Is it only me who is getting disrupted sound? Oh, sounds okay here. Why do I dislike the British? I don't. I dislike the British government. I think the way they're behaving and the way they're in step with US policy and the policies that the US government is pursuing at the moment, I think are rubbish, to be honest. I don't think it's for the benefit of the people. So it's not the British I dislike. So I don't know them all. There's a lot of them. I don't know them all. Yeah. Are you planning to get a motorcycle? So this is a thought that pops into my head almost daily, because if you're a bike guy, you'll understand it kind of gets into you. And I am a bike guy. I do like a motorbike. I've had a lot. And I do quite fancy the idea, because there are an awful lot of roads around here that are lovely, and for a bike it would just be great. But then my little inner chimp says, grow old gracefully, stop being an idiot. If you get on a bike, you're probably going to hurt something, maybe a lot of things. So, I don't know. I'd really like to get another KTM Supermoto, because I think it'd be a perfect bike for out here. But I also fancy another Harley. My sports bike days are done. I just don't bend that way anymore. And they're just, you know, they've moved on now. So yeah, I don't fancy a plastic rocket anymore, but certainly something that's fun. Last Harley I had was a 113 Fat Boy, so 2019 Fat Boy. It was nice, very nice. The wife enjoyed that as well, apart from in England it's cold, so she didn't like that, but out here she'd probably love it. So kind of fancy doing that. But like I say, a KTM 950 Supermoto, perfect bike for out here. You know, it's a great all-rounder. It will put a lot of sports bikes to shame around the bendy stuff. Super comfortable, loads of suspension travel, take it off-road, great all-round bike. So maybe my third or fourth midlife crisis, fifth, don't know. Why do you ignore British comments? I don't. Why do you ignore British comments? What British comments have I ignored? Yeah, enlighten me, Oscar. I don't know. Yeah, you have to enlighten me. Be specific. What comments have I ignored? I haven't seen anything that I've ignored. Yeah, I may not comment on certain things from Britain based on not wanting to be political on this channel, if that's what you mean. Hopefully that answers it, but if there's something specific, hey, please let me know. Maybe I've missed something. I don't know. Don't think so. Yeah, can't see anything that I've missed, but hey, please let me know if there is. How long have we been going? 74 minutes, 75 minutes. Well, I think, as this was a bit of an impromptu live, I think that will do. We'll call it a night. I need to finish my beer because it's warming up. I need to just check the surroundings and make sure there aren't any more mosquitoes, because they've had a little nibble on me today, the buggers. Hey from Kent. Hi. Gosh, I've missed it. What have you missed? Me? Just watch it on the replay. It wasn't scheduled, it was just me, you know, jumping on to say thanks for the subscribers. Enjoy your retirement. Sounds like you're having a blast. Yeah, for sure, I am. You know, I'm fortunate enough to have retired early, and yeah, it's, you know, I was driving down the road the other day thinking, if I was in England, I would be at work for at least another 10 years. And it's nice to be able to step out of that world and realise that there is more to life than work. And when you're stuck in work and when you have to work, you just don't see it. You know, your life revolves around work. But I'm very fortunate, and I've been lucky enough to get out of that environment and now understand that there's more to life than work. We're only here for a very, very, very short time, and we don't own anything. We just lease it, don't we? Let's face it. It's just rental. Everything you've got. You came into the world with nothing, you go out with nothing. So possessions and everything else don't mean a great deal, do they? And all this, you know, with the way we're programmed, I think in the West is, you know, consumerism, buy. You know, get something better, get the latest car, get a better car, get a newer car, get this, get the latest clothes. It's all consumerism, and you get just caught up in that. And I certainly am guilty of that. You know, I've done that from time to time. But when you get away from that, and it's like, I think it's like anything, once you get away from a certain situation and step out and look back in at it, you think, Christ almighty, I'm glad I got out of that. And that's certainly true. I'm very glad that my life is how it is now, definitely. Do you have an astigmatism, Mr. Plastic Russia? Mr. Plastic Russia. An astigmatism. I had laser eye surgery, is that what you mean? If you're relating to, if your question is relating to eyesight and why do I keep doing this, the other, it's because I'm lazy. My focal distance for reading is about there. So if I sit here, I can read the laptop, no problem at all. But I like to sit here, and then it gets blurry, so I have to put these on. And it's the same with looking at my phone. If I hold it sort of here, I can read it no problem. But I like to hold it here, so I have to put these on. So it's just stupidity, really. I've got 20/20 vision, apparently. Thanks for the stream, Chris. Have a nice evening. Enjoy your beer. Thank you, Lala. Enjoy the pool. Oh, I am. I most definitely am. England is finished, as you know. It's the decline of the West, isn't it? Let's face it. It's not happened overnight. It's been going on for a long time, and it's a dying civilization, isn't it? It's the decline of a once great empire, as some people say. I don't know. Was it a great empire? You look back at how barbaric it was at times. I don't know. So many Brits are considering moving to Russia. True. Money should be a lubricant for life, not a reason to live. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I have zero respect for money. It is a tool. That's it. That's all. As long as I've got enough to pay bills and look after my family, anything more than that doesn't really mean a great deal to me. And yes, so many Brits are considering moving to Russia, I'm sure, but not just Brits. There's a lot of people that don't like the current direction of, how can I word this so that I'm not struck off on an algorithm? I think there's a lot of people that are upset with the current social decline. Too many letters. Traditional family values. And that's what I love about Russia. That's one of the many things I love about this country. Traditional family values. No nonsense, no rubbish. They don't put up with it. It's just common sense and, be nice. So that's what I love about the place. Southern Russia's not a war zone. Yeah, no shit. The title is based on Western media. They would have you believe that being 60 miles away from Crimea, I must be dodging bullets and missiles, as I said earlier on in the stream. Reality is, no, it's not. So, Florida, blimey. What's Florida like? Nearly been there many times, but yeah. Is it quite humid? I really like the British literature, but it seems life like it is pretty dead right now. Yeah. Education in the UK is on decline. You've got universities turning out nonsense degrees, that people, you know, go and study to get a university degree that enables them to go to McDonald's and serve burgers. It's yeah. I mean, I see my stepdaughter's homework that she gets here in Russia. I've got no chance, I'll tell you. So the education, the level of education is definitely different, and Russians are far more educated than most English people that I've come across. They're far more worldly wise. They're far more informed about global politics and financials, and they take an interest in it. Within 30 years, my lovely country is unrecognisable as the things they teach the children is horrendous. Yeah. Yeah. I will refrain from commenting on that, other than I absolutely 100% agree with you. What is happening in UK schools is abhorrent. It is absolutely horrendous. Yeah, I'll refrain from commenting on that. It's awful. 2 to 4 months of nice weather, then it's hot and humid for the rest, even here in the northwestern. Right, okay. Yeah, so very similar to the UK, apart from the hot and humid, we just go damp and wet. Again, that's what I love about here. You've got sort of a winter that's like a British winter, you know, for temperature wise, but then the summer seems to have been stretched out. It seems to have the summer seems to last a lot longer here, and it seems to be fairly consistent. So, yeah. Hey, Mouse, good evening. See, I was just about to close this live stream up, and all of a sudden everybody wants to write something. Hey, look, all the time you're going to type, I'll carry on talking, I guess. Cheers. I'm still very proud of this mozzie. I don't know if you can see that, but there he is. Very proud of that. I enjoyed watching him go snap, crackle and pop. If the Russian government made it easy for law-abiding citizens from the UK to move, we would be there in a heartbeat. The Russian immigration process is strict and stringent, and I think it's brilliant, and it's going to be an absolute pitter, P-I-T-A, for me, because I'm old and I don't learn things like I used to. So I'm going to struggle with it, but it's really good. And you won't hear any complaints from me about it, I'm afraid. I think it's great, and I think every country should be sovereign, and every country should have an immigration policy, and to get to another country, you should be conforming to that country's thoughts, views, opinions, laws, rules and regulations. There's too much, and Brits are especially guilty of this, there's too much going to another country and expecting it to change to fit our views. You know, Brits are famous for going to Spain and you know, opening English pubs and having full English breakfasts and expecting everybody to speak English. We're famous for it. So I don't subscribe to that. I think every country should be its own independent country with its own rules, its own culture, and if you want to go to that country on holiday or to live, you fit in with that and you understand it. And some countries, we have no problem with that. We just accept it and do it. You know, if you go to Saudi Arabia or Dubai, you know that there are very strict rules, and you'll read up on them before you go because there's no nonsense. That's not a bad thing. How's that a bad thing? It's not. It's a good thing. We have just got this crazy mindset at the moment in the West of just having open borders, and just, there's a reason for it. It's not just, you know, because of stupidity. That isn't the reason. It is by design. So look past the obvious. It isn't because everybody's being stupid. It's not because nobody understands what's going on. It's because they absolutely understand what's going on, and it's being done deliberately. So you need to look beyond it and see why. I want to travel to RF this summer. Can't actually wait. Well, good luck. I don't know where you're going to go. It's a big country. Sorry, it's nice to catch you on a live stream on Venting Away. Feel free. Feel free. Greetings. I cannot read that. Right. Liz. Griezmann? Not sure, sorry. But yeah, greetings. Cheers, Petra. Hello from Colombia. Jeez. Okay. Cheers. You make lovely coffee. That's all I'm going to say about that. This might be controversial, but I have been reading about Putin. I must say, what an intelligent man he is. I don't think that's controversial. I think if you are capable of critical thought, and I think if you've got a brain, that will be the conclusion that you come to. Tucker Carlson looked like a nursery school kindergarten kid in Putin's presence. He tried to be clever and he got schooled, and he came away from there not understanding what he had been in the presence of, or who he'd been in the presence of. He went in there completely unprepared and was schooled like a schoolmaster talking to a little child. And most people think Tucker's, quite an intelligent guy, and I think he is. But Putin made him look like a kindergarten kid. The man is highly intelligent, and anybody with a brain knows that, and it's immediately obvious. I have an utmost respect for the guy, because I think what he has done for Russia and for the wider world is remarkable. I think he's an incredible statesman, and I genuinely believe he will go down in history as one of the greatest world leaders of our era. I genuinely believe that. History will define Vladimir Putin as a truly great leader. Somebody that cared genuinely about his country and genuinely about his people. And that's a rare thing nowadays. And regardless of, what some people might say, and regardless of your political views, you have to acknowledge and you have to understand that he is a highly, highly intelligent man, and puts his country and his people first. And you have to respect that. Blimey, everybody's turning up late. What on earth? Where have you been? Yeah, Dixie's on, about the migration laws. Yeah, it's all by design. Immigration policy is changing in Russia because of all the latest situations. Yeah, I think it has to. The Russian people will expect it. So for tuning in late, but George Galloway is also on live. So it was me or George Galloway. Two chicks of the same arse. Computer froze. It's not going well. In reality, a lot of British people live in Russia, but only a small part of them have YouTube channels. I don't think there's a lot of British people. I mean, I had to go and register yesterday, day before, at the local regional office to register that I'm actually here in this region. And the gentleman that we saw this time was the same guy I saw a year ago. He definitely doesn't enjoy his job, you can just tell, and Mondays aren't a good day for him, you can tell that as well. But he did make the comment that I am one of the only English people in this region, in this area. So I think in Moscow, yeah, it's probably quite saturated with Brits, purely because that's where everybody heads for work, probably. But certainly down here, no. Are you able to advise about pension income from abroad if you live in Russia, i.e. collecting a pension from a Western country when in Russia? So, as I understand, and this is based on UK, I don't know about state pension, but if you're talking about a private pension, even with sanctions, there are provisions to provide a pension. You have to jump through some hoops, you have to fill out anti-fraud and anti-money laundering rubbish, but you can have your pension paid directly into Sparebank. I don't know about the state pension yet, I'm not at that age, but certainly with a private pension you can do that. But there's always ways of moving money globally. There's lots of payment providers, so there's always ways of doing it. And I'm going to say the dirty word, crypto. So get used to it. It's going to rule the world. It's going to rule the world's financial system, that's for sure. Love a Colombian novel, 1,000 Years of Loneliness. Sounds terrifying. Tucker was like a rabbit in the headlights. Yeah, he was. Yeah, he just didn't prepare for that at all. And he didn't understand it either. He did not understand Putin. He took it completely on face value without realising the depth of the man. And he got a history lesson for the first 30 minutes, I think, of the interview, and didn't understand why. And that showed how badly he prepared and how badly he had researched Vladimir Putin. Vladimir Putin knows the history of Russia and its relevance and why Russia is where it is now. So to go into an interview not understanding that or expecting that was incompetent at best. Yeah, Linda, you're absolutely right. I agree. Lavrov is masterful, isn't he? But this is the difference between intelligent men, worldly wise men, statesmen, and kids, snotty-nosed kids. Look at what we've got. Sunak, Trudeau, Macron. And look at the rest of the clowns. They're just, you put them in a room with Vladimir Putin and Xi Jinping, and they would just be destroyed. They would resort to shouting straight away because they would not be able to converse with those people. So, you know, the Sunaks and the Trudeaus and the Macrons of the world would resort to raising their voices to try and get a point across that wasn't a point worth making, because they would not have the intellect to operate at that level. And that's the difference. And that's why Putin is loved, I think, in Russia. He's a statesman. He's all about Russians and Russia as a country. So let me just have a look. I'm just checking to make sure I haven't missed anything. Sorry for being late. Thanks for today's... Miss Mouse, how dare you turn up late? Go and put yourself on a naughty step. Off you go. Sorry, my laptop is just... And it's a new laptop. It's not like it's an old dinosaur like me. This thing should be flying, but it's just being a pitter. Thanks for today's boardwalk and park video. You're welcome. Absolutely welcome. It's a lovely part of the seafront that a lot of people don't bother filming. They tend to go straight for the beach because the beach is lovely. So they tend to film the beach and they tend to film in the town. But that area is, is recently developed, and it's just very pretty. And there's lots of parks around the Napa. Case in point, look tomorrow, you'll see another video of a walk through an Napa through one of the main roads, and it's very similar to Krasnodar. So road up either sides and a park through the middle for the people, and lots of little children's playgrounds, skate park, five-a-side football areas, and lots of stuff. You'll have a look. Have a look. It's a pretty good video that I wasn't expecting to make, so I didn't have any kit with me as usual, so it's just off my phone. But I think it was all right. So have a look at it. I'm in Prague at the moment, heading to Moscow via Turkey. The people here, along with the rest of the EU, have lost the plot. True story. We are now being told the Americans have liberated us in 1945. No, the Americans took liberties with us in 1945. Yeah, I mean, they're just rewriting history, or trying to. Turn up late, wave a flag. Yay, look what we did. Most Brits in Russia live in Moscow and St. Petersburg. Yeah, absolutely they do. Like I say, first thing people think of when they think of Russia, if somebody walks up to an Englishman or an American on the street and says, name something inside of Russia, the first thing they're going to say is Moscow or St. Petersburg, isn't it? They certainly won't say Anapa. They certainly won't say Krasnodarsky Krai. If you find an intellectual guy, he may say Sochi. Do you miss your Mustang? No. Well, yes and no. I had some really good times in it, and I took my daughter away for a week. We did a week tour. We drove from the south coast of the UK up to Scotland, drove around Scotland for a week, and then drove back 2,500 miles. I did the same with my son. So those memories are irreplaceable and absolutely priceless to me. And for that, the car, amazing. I miss it for that. I drove it around Europe quite a few times. Did lots of stuff with it. Did about 34,000 miles in the car. Spent an absolute fortune on it, modifying it. Because in standard form, they're pretty junk. Really, they're very boaty. They don't handle very particularly well. Yeah, they're ish. But spend some money on them, and they're a beast. I actually had a GTR Skyline at the same time as I had my Mustang. It's a long story, but I kept promising my son, because that was his ultimate car, was a GTR, and I kept saying to him, oh, well, next car I get will be a GTR. And then I bought the Mustang because my daughter, I was without a car. I should have had a Mercedes, but Mercedes took my deposit and then sold the car to somebody else. So I was without a car, needed a car. I was looking to hire a Ferrari for my daughter's prom. And whilst I was looking on eBay for a car, I saw this Mustang. And at that time, my daughter walked past the computer and saw it too and went, oh my God, what's that? And I told her, and I said, oh, do you like it? And she went, oh God, yeah. And I said, would you rather go to the prom in that than the Ferrari? And she went, yeah. So my brain, doing the maths, thought, well, it's going to cost me about £2,000 to rent a Ferrari for the weekend. So that makes the Mustang £2,000 cheaper. So I bought a Mustang. My boy was disappointed because I told him the next car I was going to get was a GTR. So I ended up buying a GTR a little while later with the intention of selling the Mustang. But the Mustang was more fun. My boy went out in a GTR once and wasn't interested in going out in it again. And I've got a video when I drove the GTR home and him coming out, and he was like, oh my God, you know, so excited. But we went out in it, and it just left us a bit flat, to be honest. You know, the Mustang was easily as fast. After I modified it, it wasn't in standard form. But up to about 120 mile an hour, there was nothing in it. They were the same. But the Mustang you had to drive. You could not be. The GTR would just, you know, you'd go into a corner and it would just laugh at you. Whereas the Mustang would, you know, if you took liberties with it, if you didn't drive it, it would bite. So you had to drive it. So I missed that aspect of it, but I don't miss the car because I had it 3 years and did 30 odd thousand miles in it. So it was time, you know, I enjoyed it. I spent a fortune on it and I moved on to other things. So yeah, great car, but only modified. I wouldn't want a standard one. Have you had? God, you guys. Look at you, you've all come out now. I was going to close it up, and now here I am. Have you had any experience with Russian healthcare system? Yes, I have. Watched the videos. How does it compare to the British system? Would you return to the UK for treatment if you faced a major health issue? Roman, you need to watch my videos. The answers to your questions are there in depth. Healthcare in Russia, Russian healthcare. I have health issues, and yeah, watch the videos. Go to my channel and have a look at the videos. I answer that in depth. I truly believe if more conservative people in the UK knew an easier way to come to Russia, we would flock together and respect the country. Yeah, I think Russia is going to be more about what are you going to offer the country rather than, you know, just welcoming people in. You know, I think there's an expectation of actually, you know, bringing something to the table. Who would you like to see be PM of the UK? Blimey, Nevada Maverick. Who would I like to see be PM of the UK? Well, at the moment, you've got two main parties, and the figureheads of those parties are, World Economic Forum puppets, reading from the same hymn book. One is a limp lettuce and one is a jackboot fug, but they're still reading from the same hymn book. So for me, neither of those two current candidates, I think, are suitable to lead Britain and get it out of the absolute mess that it's in. So I don't think it's necessarily who would you like, because you know you can look at available candidates, you can look further afield at you know, in an ideal world. Yeah, I don't think it comes down to who do you like. I think it comes down to, you know, the best of a bad bunch, you know, lesser of two evils kind of thing. Farage seems to have support and says the right things about returning England. You know, I think he's took a lot of cues from Donald Trump, so he probably operates in the same vein. Whether he's capable of leading the country or not, I don't know. Is he better than the other two? Better, I don't know. Different, yes. I don't know. The honest answer. England needs somebody that cares about England, but I think it's too far gone and too broken up and too diversified for that to happen now. So I don't know the future for England. I don't know where it will go. Parliament on Wednesday is a national embarrassment. Yeah. Thank you, Miss Mouse. Exactly that. There's already been a video. I think I've done a couple of videos actually. Linda, thank you. Love all your videos. You are doing a wonderful job showing the truth and get to see. Thank you. Very kind. Very kind. I don't think I'm doing a wonderful job. I think I'm just an old fart that talks and he's happy to talk about what he sees, and you know, he's happy to answer questions about it. And if that is good for you guys, if that's useful, brilliant. I am more than happy to answer questions, and yeah, hopefully I can show everybody a different side of Russia. Hopefully I can show them what they won't see on mainstream media. And I've had a few people sort of say, wow, it's really opened my eyes, and you know, it's been educational to see, you know, even from Russians, to see a different part of the country. And that's great. That's, you know, fantastic. Let's get to a world where everybody understands the rest of the world, and instead of everybody trying to fight each other, why can't we just get along, you know? But we've got too many people not wanting their lifestyle to change in any way, shape or form, only get better. And that's the 1% at the top. And until people actually deal with that problem, is it ever going to change? I don't know. Just hamsters on a wheel, aren't we? Unless you do what I do. Get out. Yes, Petra, Anishep was the first man in outer space. The park on the seafront was very nice. Yeah, it is. Yeah. Clean. That's a nice thing. Remember some time ago, Australian PM wanted to shirt front Putin. Where is that man now? I would be happy to see your collaboration with the American in Russia channel. Okay, American in Russia. I'm not sure who that is. But I'm happy to collaborate with anybody. But I find I used to email a lot of YouTubers and say, hey, do you want to do a live, and you know, would you like to do an interview or whatever, and 99% of them just completely blanked me, completely ignored me. So I think it's very tribal on YouTube. I think some people are quite protective of their channel and how it's perceived, and probably don't want to boost somebody else's channel to a degree. I don't know. I'm happy to talk to anybody. One thing I will remind people of, in case they're unaware, if you put links, if you put a comment on any video and you put a link in that comment, say for example like that, great collaboration with @American in Russia, and you put a link to their channel or something, YouTube will hold it. It will get blocked, so you won't see it. It won't go on. So try and avoid putting links in comments, just because YouTube will grab hold of it. I am married to a beautiful Russian woman and still had to leave the country. Okay, I mean, I don't know. Francisco, don't know. Every situation is individual. How is your lovely lady? Do a vid together, please. You'll have to wait till tomorrow. Maybe there was a little cameo appearance. Or maybe she just got the camera shoved in her face. Maybe. BMW M3, yes or no? Depends what you're looking for, I think. I had an M4, same car, effectively. But obviously the M3 has the practicality of 4 doors. Yeah, I mean, it depends what year, for a start, as well. If you're talking about the latest incarnation with xDrive, it's going to be awesome. It's going to be a fantastic car. I mean, has there ever been a bad M3 or a bad M car? Probably not. It'd be difficult to say no. But it really depends, how you're wired. You got Merc, you got Audi. Yeah. It'd be a tough choice, but I think I'd have to say yes to an M3. And pretty much any year I think you're going to enjoy. So, yeah, good car. Am I misunderstanding something here? Are all the UK fathers purchasing new cars to drive their children to a prom? My parents gave me a personal shelf in the fridge and said, buy your own food. So this comes back to my comments earlier and in previous videos where I have zero respect for money. But on top of that, I also weigh up, for example, if I wanted, I don't know, say I wanted a nice TV and there was a job lot of TVs or computers or something for sale, I would buy a job lot to end up with what I wanted cheaper. So I wouldn't just necessarily go and buy the one thing, I'd buy 10 things to achieve one thing. And buying a car to take my daughter to a prom on face value looks like a really stupid idea. But when you consider that I was prepared to spend a couple of grand hiring a car, which is excessive, but your kid only has one prom and I was very keen for my children to be children. when you look at it like that, £2,000 in rental gone, or putting that into buying a car that was already a good price, which I then beat down and got cheaper, and then factor in the £2,000, I ended up with a very cheap Mustang, which I kept for 3 years. And aside from the money that I spent on modifications, I lost 500 quid on that car. So I sold it for 30,000. I paid 30,500 for it. So in that regard, yeah, it was very sensible. Money on modifications, that's personal choice. You can never factor that in. You lose that money. It is what it is. But, you know, if just on face value on the car itself, yeah, it was a good choice. So, might seem excessive, but dropping £2,000 on a rental is probably excessive. No, it is excessive, but, you know, I had the opportunity to do it. So, it's a memory that's been created. That car, like I say, created a lot of memories for me and my children. So, yeah, it was absolutely worth it. Every penny. Farage is stepping up for whatever that is worth. Yeah, I mean, it's difficult to comment on Farage, I think, for me. I think he's just watched the Trump playbook, and I think he's following it. So you're going to get what you're going to get, I think. I think it's probably more important to ask, could he do a worse job? I think two people who would do something with you is Russell and Sam. I've done something with both of them, actually. Well, no, I've been on a live stream with Russell, but that was a kind of an impromptu thing. He was live, I went on to his live, and he said, hey, come and join it, which I did, so it was a bit impromptu, but that was good fun. We haven't done anything since. Sam did a good shout out for me, did mention when he was talking about YouTubers. But again, I haven't done anything with Sam. It just hasn't happened for you know, one reason or another. It's just not happened. But I'd love to do lives with both of them, either of them, all three of them. Maybe a collab with Russell. Yeah, I mean, yeah, I'm always up for it. Russell's a busy guy. But I have got something over Russell at this moment in time. Yeah, I have some leverage. Bear with me. I'll show you the leverage. Now, Russell, if you're watching, I did tell you a little porky pie because I just wanted it to be a surprise. But it's not damaged. It is, in fact, whole. So that came all the way back from the UK, and I understand Russell would borderline kill for these. And they kind of earmarked with his name on it. Well, I could hold him to ransom, couldn't I? Do a live with me, Russell. Well, the Maltesers get it. There we go. I've now got to get up again because my little monkey cat is screaming. Come on, get in. Don't be idiot. Sorry. Sam is great, I agree. Yeah, Sam, you know, Sam has got a very, very good, genuine heart. I've got a lot of time for that guy. He's a nice man. I found this channel thanks to Sam. Yeah, exactly. You know, he's aside from the fact that he's helped me, and a lot of people have come here from Sam's channel. I've got to know him over the last few months. And we talk regularly, and he's a nice guy. So I've got a lot you know, I've got a lot of time for Sam and Russell. Russell has also been very helpful to me, so I've got a lot of time for both of them. This is a very small channel of an American who has lived in Russia for more than 20 years with a history very similar to yours. Ah, okay, so the American in Russia. Okay, fine. Yeah, I mean, I don't know who it is. As I said, I've reached out to loads of people and nobody's bothered to reply, so I just won't bother to do it anymore. But if somebody wants to do something with me, I'm more than happy to do it. He worked in Chelyabinsk for 17 years and living in the suburbs of Tambov for the last 5 years in a custom-built home, just like yours. Oh, okay, interesting. Yeah. Itchy leg, bloody mosquitoes. Malt balls, simple luxuries. No idea what a malt ball is. Ah, sorry, Maltesers. Yeah. Yeah, Russell likes them, and I have them. Have you seen Dan's Wild Siberia videos? Yes, where he shows his future house building plans. From your perspective and with your experience, are there any potential building problems hidden in that plan? So no, I haven't seen those particular videos purely because I've been too busy. I did do a live with Dan. It was great fun. I really enjoyed it. I did actually, while I was in the UK, message him and say, do you want to do a live? And he asked me if I was in the UK and then didn't come back to me anymore from there. So that didn't happen. But no, I haven't had a chance, to be honest. I've just been too busy. I haven't watched anybody's videos really, so I'm a sort of long way behind with a lot of stuff. But I try and keep my head in sort of geopolitics and global finance more than, you know, YouTube stuff really. So when I get the time, I do that first. I don't mind me, cat. Joppa. Yeah, so I don't know is the honest answer, Miss Mouse. I'd have to have a look and see what he is, but yeah. Yes, Miss Mouse, he has a short talking about that. Too big for a starter project. Yeah, I don't know. I can't comment on Dan's thing. I don't know how something can be too big for a starter project. If that's what he said, I'm a bit curious of that. What's too big? I don't know. Is he building a mansion? Cats rule the world. Yeah, that little monkey rules my heart. It's a real character, funny little thing. Koshkas, yeah, Koshkai. That one's a, yeah. About 2,000 square foot house is what Dan is working on. Oh, I work in meters, so I don't know what that is, but it sounds quite big. Malt's yummy. Yeah, I mean, if Russell doesn't pay the ransom, TikTok, Russell, TikTok, the Maltesers might get it. Damn cat. My Maine Coon is constantly making ropes out of me. Yeah. What's the name of these sweets again? Maltesers, yes. Yes, indeed. Yeah, they are nice, and I'm surprised I haven't eaten them, actually. I did, because I wanted to surprise Russell, I did say to him that they didn't survive the journey and there was only a few left, and he needed to give me an address so I could send them to him. But it just so happened, listen to it, just let it in, and now it wants to go out again. But it just so happened that Stecker's got computer problems, so it's not actually operating at the moment, unless it may be fixed now, I don't know, but it wasn't when I first came back. yeah, timing. I couldn't actually send it to him. I wanted to send him obviously this box, and him expecting to get a smashed up box with a few in it, and obviously get a full and brand new box. But it hasn't happened. So I wasn't going to let him know, but I have done now, and I quite like the idea of holding them to hostage or eating them. I'm not sure which I'd prefer, to be fair. Yeah. We've got £2 cats. Yeah, we've got 2 cats. We're nearly inheriting 3. There's this manky looking ginger thing that needs a bath that is very sweet, and it keeps coming round. I keep shooing it out of the house. It keeps coming back, and the missus feeds it, so it comes back, and then I feed it, so it comes back. Gonna be free, innit? Can see it happening. Baka, Russia, Lad. Baka. Chris is a pushover for kitties. I just reread that. It does say kitties. True story. Do you want a made Russian child? Do I want to make a Russian child, or do I want an already made Russian child? Do I want to make a Russian child? No. Do I want a made Russian child? No, I've already got one. So, yeah, no. Cat, I swear to God. Oh, right. Yeah, you didn't see that, but one out, one in. The one that was coming in smacked the one that was going out, smacked him around the head, which is quite funny. So we've got a Bengal called Rosie, and she's a right princess. And Rios, who is a Bombay, she regularly smacks him around the head. And it's just funny. She just walks in and goes bang, and hits him around the head and carries on. And that's what she just did, because he's in the way. So, yeah. But when they're play fighting, Rios always gets the better of her. Yeah, bless. When are you planning your trip to Crimea? I am not, Sailor. I haven't planned it. It's in here. It's on my to-do list. My Kesha cake, £20. Stop feeding the damn thing. £20. That needs to go on a prison diet, I think. Is cattish Russian language different from cattish English language? Yes. Yes. My wife, interestingly enough, my wife talks to our English cat, which we brought from England, which is Rosie, the Bengal. She talks to Rosie in Russian. I have no clue what she says to the cat. I have no clue whether the cat understands it. Don't know. But my wife's happy. Good enough. My cat keeps bugging my East European Shepherd when she's trying to sleep. Vice versa. Yeah. Okay, born Russian child. Do I want a born Russian child? Pilot play, I'm sorry, I still don't understand the question. It's either A, late, B, beer, or C, thick. And that's me. So I don't understand the question. Start the question again. Spoiled cats, yeah, they are. I wanted to say while in Russia, larder. Yeah, they train you. Yes, Russian is hard. I'm trying though. Hey, rain, blimey. Yeah, it is hard. It is incredibly hard. If you're young, you're going to pick it up because all kids do, don't they? Let's face it. But if you're old, it's a challenge, and it's not, I think, so much that the language itself is the challenge because it's very logical. It's, you know, things are spelt the way they sound. So if you can learn the letters, then you can read Russian. The problem is that if you come from the West and you're an old idiot like me, then the problem comes when you look at the letter C or the letter P or the letter R or the letter H. They aren't that in Russia. And that's the difficult bit, you know. A C in England is C, my name begins with a C. Whereas in Russia, a C is an S. And there's so many letters that are like that. And then you've got symbols that you have to learn. And then you've got some letters that don't do anything at all other than, you know, soften the previous letter or the following letter. It's for me, the hardest thing is that my brain has to convert it. So it looks at the letter C, it then says, no, that's not C, that's an S, and then converts it. So it just doesn't look at the letter C and see it as an S. It sees it as a C and then converts it to an S, if that makes sense. So that's why it's so difficult for me. I need to get to a point where I don't read it like English, but I've spent 57 years on the planet, and a letter C is a letter C. So I got some books and play with Duolingo. Yeah, I mean, I've done a lot with Duolingo, but most people say it's not the way to go. It'll help you with some words, it'll help you with some basic words, but it won't, I think, advance you. To advance, you've got to, there are other things that people have given me this time that I need to look into. But ultimately, I think it's a tutor. I think that's the route I've got to go down. The main difference is there are no bears in England. True story. How many difference between Russian and English bear? Yeah. Yes, Miss Mouse has hit it on the head. The main difference is there are no bears in England. Yeah, that's correct, there aren't. Russian grammar is really challenging. It is, and Russians focus a lot on that as well. When they're teaching English, they really focus on grammar, which is funny because speaking as an Englishman, we don't. We butcher the language, we shortcut it because we're lazy, we abbreviate it, and we chop it up and bastardise it. So we just do not talk how it's written a lot of the time. And I'm sure you understand what I'm saying, and certainly regional dialects really, really highlight that. And there's a huge difference going from one end of the country to the other. You know, you drive through Manchester and Liverpool, you get up into Scotland. I've got a friend who lives in Keith in Scotland, and when I talk to him, I have to concentrate. And equally, I had friends in Manchester, and that's a challenge. And Liverpool, not too bad, but yeah, there's some regional challenges, and then now the latest Yardy language in, well, I don't say the latest, it's been around for years, but certainly Yardy slang in London. Yeah, real challenge. Feel sorry for Russians trying to learn English, because I don't even know what English is anymore. Pectopar. Yeah, see, it's my favourite, Pectopar. Because that's a good example. I'll tell you another good example is Sophia, Sofia. If you write that in Russian, it's nothing like that. But yeah, Pectopar, you know, it's restaurant. So that's a good example. Maybe in 5 years, yeah, maybe. That focus on grammar doesn't help in real life, no. When I got the first group to work with after school and I was a degree in linguistics, I felt myself completely lost and helpless. Yeah, it's very challenging. It really is, and for me, it's more important to learn words, even if I'm butchering them, than being able to enunciate them correctly. That will come in time. But initially, I just want to be able to learn words even if I can't say them properly. Zdravstvuyte was, and still is, an absolute challenge for me. I could not say that word. I couldn't even hear it properly. I just had no concept of what that word was. When it was said, yeah. And it's only recently that I've started to get my head around it. So it's a difficult language. Ah, beers, that makes more sense. Is there a difference between English and Russian beers? Well, the biggest difference is the price. This particular vintage, I think, was about 150 rubles for 2 litres. Quite nice. So that's the main difference, the cost, without a doubt. English beers, yeah. Beer's beer, isn't it? Let's face it. I can overthink it as much as you want, but it's beer. If it's cold, good enough, isn't it? Morgan Cruz, the most difficult thing in Russian for the English are verbs of movement and attachment. As a great man once said, in the words of the Virgin Mary, come again. Yeah, over my head. As soon as people start talking about verbs and adjectives and adverbs and yeah, all of that, no idea. Haven't got a clue. And that's the main difference. I think that Russians really focus when they're learning English. They really focus on that, and consequently, obviously, they focus on it in Russian, which is what is difficult, because when I try to explain English to a Russian and say that, you know, on the whole, we don't focus, you know, we just speak the language, you don't focus on verbs, and most people wouldn't know what a verb or an adjective, adverb, pronoun, blah, 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 wouldn't know what it was, me included. The main difference between a Russian beer and an English beer is that you cannot buy a Russian beer in England. Yeah. Yeah. And that highlights how utterly ridiculous this situation is. And that highlights the difference between the cultures. And if you're coming from the UK, that will be one of the things that you notice. Not the beer, but the fact that Russians aren't wired the same way. They are far more accepting, and they're not sheep. They make their own mind up about things. They don't just blindly follow. You know, if you go into a shop in the UK, will you find anything Russian anywhere? No, you're not going to find clothes, you know, with Moscow written across them or anything like that, are you? Not at all. You would have done, you know, pre-SMO, but not to a great extent. But you would have seen it, you know, in a few shops, but now absolutely not. Oh my God, horrendous. You go into a Russian shop, you go into a Russian shopping centre, and you will see Brooklyn, New York Jets, you know, Colorado, London. I saw a guy in Sochi, if you watch my Sochi videos, he sat on a bench and he's wrapped in a Union Jack. They are not wired the same. They do not judge like that. And that's the biggest difference, and that's a good example of it. And how many drink beer you can for one evening? Well, it's still the same one. So technically one. Yeah, I haven't filled it up again. I did have 45 before this one. My Russian friend in another state never says the. I am going to. I am going to supermarket. No, the supermarket. Okay. Sailor, thank you. Thanks as always. You're a regular, so thanks for tuning in, mate. Articles, well, one of the hardest things for me, yeah. It's not a big glass, Rain. Easy, it just looks it. Look, see? If I hold it here, look, it's tiny. It's only a little glass. It's just because it gets near the camera, it looks really big. I don't know why you'd consider 2.5 litres a large glass. How was your flight via Istanbul this time? No need to argue about the hotel to stay at during layover. No. Yeah, do you know what? We just did it a bit of a different way this time. We went with Turkish Airlines from the UK to Istanbul. Of course, no problems. And we went with Aeroflot from Istanbul to Sochi. And of course, no problems. The plane from Istanbul to Sochi, the Aeroflot plane was much smaller. It was only 100 seat, but the seats were wider, more comfortable, and more legroom. And yeah, I actually preferred the Sukhoi over the Turkish Airlines, which is the usual cattle class. You know, rammed in, tiny seat, get one arse cheek on it. So yeah, no, I preferred the flight from Istanbul to Sochi, personally. I will substitute sailor. I love Do & Co catering on Turkish Airlines. Could sell my soul for their chocolate mousse. Yeah, it was all right. I don't think I'd sell my soul for it, but it was all right. It's aircraft food. It's ish, isn't it? It's, you'll eat it when you're hungry. But yeah, it wasn't great. It was okay. Right, look, guys, I've been rabbiting on now for 146 minutes. Not anymore, it's not. No, it's in my stomach. So I need to wrap this up because it's getting late and This will be very boring for most of you by now. Legroom doesn't depend on the plane type, only on the airline's greed. Yeah, probably true. The plane from Istanbul to Sochi was most likely Sukhoi Superjet. Yeah, that rings a bell. I think it was. Yeah. Yeah, guys, I'm going to call it a night. So thanks for tuning in. You know, thank you for firing questions into the chat. It keeps the live going. Otherwise, it's just me going through a list of stuff and it's over in 20 minutes. So I really appreciate the interaction. Please, you know, don't be scared. If you want to ask me a question, join the Telegram channel. I'll answer it as quickly as I can on there. There are 2 channels. I don't understand why, because I'm old, so I don't get it. But there's a Plastic Russian channel and there's a Plastic Russian chat. The channel has like over 100 subscribers and the chat has about 30. I don't understand why. But join the chat or the channel. The channel, I think you can only comment on my comments, whereas the chat, you know, it's obviously a chat. You know, hence the reason it's called chat. Idiot. So yeah, join the Telegram chat and fire me anything you want, you know, anything you want to know. And if I can't answer it, maybe somebody in the chat can. Failing that, watch out for tomorrow's video. There'll be a few interesting things in there for you. And I'll say goodnight. Thanks for tuning in. And as always, see you in the next one.